If you utilize these exact 5 steps when evaluating where and how to build and invest in warehouses, you'll be profitable every time, provided the market allows and you allow the data to speak to you. Hi, everybody. My name is Jerome Maldonado. I've been buying land and building ground-up development in residential and commercial assets for almost 30 years to date. And I'll tell you that retail was our big bucket for many years. And the way retail works is very similar to the way warehouse works. But when it comes to lending and banking, everything we do it from a lending and banking perspective. And the reason why is because if you can't get financing on it, you can't build it. If you can't affirm that the market is in need of that product and can't find tenants, you can't build it. The one reason that multifamily works so well, and the reason we have built multifamily in the last decade predominantly, is because of the massive need for housing. But there's also a massive need for warehouse, and most people miss it. There's 2 sectors of warehouse you have to pay attention to. One is office warehouse. And it's not office buildings, office warehouse. Most people live and work with manufacturing. Everything in today's world is about data and logistics, data and logistics. We live in a tech world. So when you think about it from a data and logistics standpoint, there's 2 differences between data and logistics. Data is where you can go in and you can crypto mining. You can go in and do semiconductors. You can house data centers. You can go in and do LEED certified buildings. That's the stuff that's attractive in warehouse. Now, office warehouse, people, it's about logistics. Can I bring my inventory to my office? Can I bring my work trucks to my office? I just need a small office. Office is dead. The big office buildings are dead. No one's going in and staffing 500 people, 200 people, 30 people, 50 people. No one's doing that anymore. People are working from home. We now live in a logistic world. So when you think of companies like Walmart, for sake of example, massive warehouses, they don't make the vast majority of their money in the retail centers anymore. They make it on the logistics of deliveries and the convenience of getting products to your front door quick. When you think about companies like Amazon, Amazon doesn't have locations. Amazon is all online. It's all about logistics. They're the #1 freight and logistics company in the world today. So when you think about it, #1 retailer, #1 logistics, #1 freight and delivery company in the world today, it's putting the companies that are more inferior at risk. So you take a look at companies like Home Depot. Home Depot is a great logistics company. It's not just a great building company anymore. It's not just a great building materials company anymore. It's a great logistics company. Okay, so when we go in, we got big box, okay? And now let's talk about office retail, okay? This is office. What I like about these is long, deep spaces, okay? Now, you can either put a garage door on the front or garage door on the back. They all have to have lift truck ready delivery trucks or semi-truck deliveries. So if you have a garage door here, garage door here, garage door here, garage door here, garage door here. Now, these, I would just leave them open until you know who's going to buy it. You can go in and build the firewalls and leave them open. Now, what you're going to have to do is you have to, #1, you have to pre-lease 70% of whatever shell you have. This is what's called a shell, okay? This is what you call a shell. Now, this is unit A, B, C, D, E, okay? Now, when we come in here, we may have just a big giant warehouse. We might have a carve out right here on this one. We might have another carve out right here on this one. And then we may have all of this leased to one tenant. Now, if you go in and you take 55% of the occupancy of your property, 51%, you can do what's called an owner occupancy. If you're an owner occupant, you can alleviate this 70%. So #2, you could be an owner occupant, but you have to take 51%. So you have to underwrite it. What are you paying for rent? What does your business need? Is it worth me taking 51%? And if it does, the other 49%, what do the market rents reflect? And can I pay my mortgage with that other 49%? And if I can, maybe I'm rent free. And I'm going to evaluate that. But what is my build out? What is my tenant improvements? Okay. #3, we have to evaluate our tenant improvements. So #3, your TIs, your tenant improvements. Okay, now here's what's cool about tenant improvements is you got these shells, right? All you're throwing up, you have to go in and you have to acquire and tie up the land first and foremost. Not buy it, just tie it up and acquire it, okay? Now, once we do that, we come up with a conceptual drawing with a shell. Okay, so we go in, we put a conceptual drawing together with a shell. We make the front of it look attractive, very beautified, modern, new looking, but it's just a shell. All this is tilt up concrete walls. You know, you can go in and do some of the new prefab materials, CMU, block, steel, whatever you want. But you put up a shell, modern, on the front. You put in a bunch of garage doors, and now, before you even do it, you're leasing it. Now all of a sudden you get like PepsiCo. You have a Pepsi company coming in and they have all their loading trucks. We know we're gonna have to put some loading doors on here for their trucks. They're gonna tell you what type of trucks they have. We did this with Frito-Lay. Frito-Lay came into a property that we have in Santa Fe. We came in, we bought it from Swanson Foods. When I bought it, I said, okay, we're gonna close on the lease and the tenant improvements on the same day. And so when we go in is we tie this lease up, we get a pre-lease with a deposit. We get these guys to pay for the tenant improvement plans. So everything interior is done by them. The architecture, the engineering, the electrical, the mechanical, the plumbing, the heating, the cooling, everything, you name it, is paid by the tenant. Now, it's gonna go into your construction loan, but you're gonna collateralize that lease against it. They're gonna pay you back 100% for their tenant improvements, which is gonna be a part of your build out cost. So you can literally go in and shells can cost you anywhere from $110 to $200 a square foot to build, depending on the height and what's going into these properties. But you could build these things for dirt cheap and you can get like 80% of the construction cost on the tenant improvements, on the interiors, paid for by the tenant themselves. And all you're providing is a roof, a structure, and a floor-based foundation with the dirt work. That's where the 20% comes from. And the other 80% comes from PepsiCo. Let's say you do get like a Frito-Lay in here, okay? And now they have a different type of trucks. These are semis, these are box trucks. So now we put in the same type of doors, but we put it on that side. Now this one, let's say you carve out a little bit for you. This is just you, a little office. You put a little garage door here. You own a little construction company, flooring company, plumbing company, electrical company. And now you hope this one is available, okay? Now, you may come in here. This may not be PepsiCo. This could be anything, guys. This could be Intel, okay? This could be a semiconductor manufacturing company. This could be something that's leased over from Elon Musk or from a manufacturing company that's doing semiconductors or whatever it is, ladies and gentlemen. You come in, this is a national tenant. Okay? If you want to learn the exact strategy of how to buy the right piece of land in the right area to build a house, if you want to learn the exact strategy that I've been utilizing for almost 3 decades, then text me the word land at 505-560-0520. Let's go ground up. Let's buy land. Let's build houses. And let's start right now. Now, this right here, office warehouse, you're going to go in and let's say that you have a plumbing company in here. Okay, let's say you have a floral company in here. Let's say you have somebody that does Amazon trading and they're just housing inventory that they're distributing out. Let's say you have a t-shirt company in here and let's say this is you right here. Okay, now if 70% of this is leased, you can go in and get the money. Something like this will cost you about $110 to $120 a square foot to build the shell. If the whole build out costs you $200, $220 a square foot, the remaining portion is paid by the tenant improvement, by the tenants. That's how you stabilize your asset. So now you go in and instead of collateralizing your own money, you're collateralizing the 70% pre-lease and the tenant improvement capital that your tenants are bringing to the table. So all you're doing is tying up the land, you're paying for the pre-entitlement fees, and you're paying for all of the plat approval, and then you're paying for your finished entitlement fees and your architecture and engineering on the shell itself. The remaining portion, ladies and gentlemen, is the equity stack you utilize to go in against your loan, and you allow your tenants and their tenant improvement to be the down payment and the equity stack against your long-term 10-year, 20-year, 30-year fixed rate note that you're going to put on these warehouses. Why do I like warehouses and why do I like it? Is that when these are stabilized, ladies and gentlemen, you have what's called a triple net lease. And then you also have what's called CAM fees. These two things allow the tenant to take care of 90% of the maintenance, management, and costs and expenses to run, manage, facilitate that warehouse. Where you go in, the triple net fees cover the insurance, the property taxes, and the maintenance of the property. The common area fees cover all of the maintenance. You go in there, you have a landscaper that goes in and takes care of blowing and cleaning that property, mowing the lawns, it's covered. The tenants pay for it. Your property taxes, your insurance, and your maintenance of that property, the tenants pay for it. The air conditioners that cool the common area space, the tenants, they pay for it. Your insurance, your liability insurance, they pay for it. Your property taxes, the property tax increases, the tenants, they pay for it. The CAM fees, the common area fees, your water, the tenants, they pay for it. The sewer, they pay for it. The trash, they pay for it. They pay for everything on that property. What I love about warehouse over any other asset class is that These two variables allow me to walk in with very low risk overhead, and we can go in and make the tenants pay for everything, as opposed to multifamily and other types of commercial assets where you, the owner, have to take on that liability and risk, and your tenants themselves in commercial real estate have to ante up, baby, and pay out on these triple net fees, CAM fees, and ultimately stabilizing your property, utilizing their equity, their tenant improvements to go in and help you build an asset that you're going to keep forever. Ladies and gentlemen, for more commercial asset ground up construction, real estate tips, click and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Make sure you comment down below. Don't forget to give some love and pound that thumbs up button. And until next time, go out and compound your success.